On this episode, we travel to Madison, Wisconsin for the ProWalk, ProBike conference. Then we talk with the mayor of Madison about improving conditions for bicyclists. The Bicycle Federation of Wisconsin works to create bicycle-friendly communities. The public health agencies also promote bicycling and walking. We meet the author of the Pedestrian Observer. Finally, we look at proposed improvements to a busy street in Raleigh, North Carolina. Stay tuned. We're in Madison, Wisconsin, talking with John Ryder, who's the bicycle registration coordinator with the city of Madison. What does a bicycle registration coordinator do?
I run the bicycle registration program for the city of Madison. We're one of the few cities that still has a registration requirement for bicycles, so that's the program that I take care of. I work with the local bicycle shops and the other retailers that sell bicycles to actually register the bicycles when they sell them, and then I also work with the university and do other things to try to promote people registering their bicycles, and then I handle the back end of the program too. So that's my main purpose, is to get people to register their bicycles and show them the benefits of that.
Okay, and other than complying with the law, what is the benefit of registration?
Well, one of the main benefits of registration is if your bicycle is stolen and then recovered, according to our police statistics, you're 8 times more likely to get your bicycle back to you. If your bicycle is recovered and it's not registered, it's really, really hard to get a bicycle back to somebody. So that's one of the main benefits. The other benefit is proof of ownership for insurance. In case it's lost, you can get a record from us of what your bicycle was. One of the other big benefits is for identification purposes, especially for children. If someone's in a crash, or if there's a child that's kind of lost and uncommunicative and doesn't want to talk to a stranger, even if it's a police officer, from the registration tag on the bicycle, we can get contact information, and that kind of helps with identifying people if they're not communicative for whatever reason.
And you've been busy recently. Big conference came to town. What was the conference, and what was your role in it?
The conference was the ProWalk, ProBike conference, which is a conference that's given every 2 years at various places around North America, and it's a gathering of pedestrian and bicycle advocates, professionals, industry representatives. It's just a good time for people that are in the bicycle and pedestrian world to get together, share ideas, share what they're doing, try to come up with strategies to promote what they're doing and move our fields forward. So the conference was in Madison this year, and I was on the local host committee, and my subcommittee was doing the bicycle parking for the conference, and I worked with Ceres, which is one of our local manufacturing companies that's a large manufacturer of bicycle racks, and they also do the power tap watt meter that a lot of the racers use and other things. So we worked with them to figure out where we're going to put the bikes and how we're going to get people to know where that parking was and provide them that service. Since it's a conference where a lot of people bike, we want them to have a secure place to lock their bikes while they're here. So that was one of my roles. With the committee, other people in the committee were working on other things like getting lodging and working with the local tourism industry to make sure that we had all the information so the visitors could come to Madison, find their way around, enjoy our beautiful scenery, our wonderful restaurants. We have just a wide variety of restaurants here. Another part of the committee was coming up with walking and biking tours for the people, both for just their interest when they weren't at the conference, and then there was also a couple conference sessions that were talking about different pedestrian facility tours and different bicycle facility tours to see what Madison's doing well, some areas where we see challenges, and just use them as kind of teaching tools for the people that are here in Madison.
People did enjoy getting out in the fresh air and enjoying the city, but they also spent a lot of time sitting in little windowless rooms talking. What was the theme this year? What were they talking about?
What we were talking about was making connections, which was the theme of the conference. So that theme was carried through in a lot of different levels. Just coming to a conference is a way for people to connect with each other and share ideas. But with the theme of the conference being making connections, we also reached out to different groups to bring different types of groups together. There was a lot of health professionals here that were talking about how we can hook health issues such as obesity and diabetes and things like that into issues of bicycling and walking and getting people more active. There's a lot of active living and active community type organizations nowadays, and a bunch of people in those industries were here. So we just brought a lot of different types of people together to talk about how we have shared goals and how we can work together to reach those goals. Another one of the types of making connections was even physical connections. A lot of the programs were on what are we doing making connectivity with our sidewalks so people can walk places, and our bicycle routes so that people have, a trail that just goes from one point to another point but doesn't have any purpose other than that. Doesn't do a lot of people a lot of good. I mean, it's nice recreation, but if you can work your trails into a bicycle lane system and sidewalk systems and that, people can actually get somewhere. There's also one of the sessions was on long distance connections too, for bicycling, that how do we connect bicycle routes together to get different places, whether it be from city to city, from region to region, from state to state, and try to make sure that there's an integrated network that people can get to. So that was one of the other themes of connections that was kind of going on for the sessions here at this conference.
Other than people spending a lot of money at hotels and restaurants, how does a conference like this benefit Madison?
Well, it brings a lot of people into town just to see our beautiful city. Came to Madison by choice about 12 years ago because it really is a beautiful city, and being a bicyclist, I really enjoy being able to bike to work and bike to the grocery store and other places. I spend most of my time on a bike if at all possible. So we were able to show Madison, or people that came to Madison, that yes, it can be done. You can build a city that's got great infrastructure where you don't really need a car most of the time. We have got a pretty good public transportation system, and combining that with our ability to, once you either bike or walk where you want to go, or take the bus and then walk or bike from there to other places, we can show that really works. And so I think it was just good to bring people to Madison and show them the lakes that we have, which are gorgeous. We're surrounded by water here, and so I think it was good for Madison just bring new people in, and hopefully they'll go back and talk to their friends about what a great place Madison is to bicycle, and other people will come here to see that and come walk around, and just hopefully will be good inspiration for other people as far as what can be done to make good bicycling and walking infrastructure.
We're in Madison, Wisconsin, talking with Mayor Dave Cheslovich. How important are walking and bicycling to Madison?
They're incredibly important to Madison. We're very proud. We get national awards for our pedestrian friendliness, and also for biking. We recently were rated a gold city for biking. We're among a handful of cities that have that rating, and there's only one city that has platinum, Davis, California, and we aim to overtake Davis someday.
What do you have to do to get to platinum? What are you doing to the city to?
Well, actually, we're doing quite a bit right now, but I just appointed a committee that's going to study that very question. Ask that question: what do we need to do to be the best bicycling city in America? And they're going to get to work very shortly, and we hope within 6 months or so we'll have an answer to that question and a roadmap of exactly the kinds of things we need to do. But I'll tell you what, we were an early pioneer in bicycle paths. The city now is just a web of bicycle paths. We're building more every year, and really you can get to just about any part of the city right now on a bicycle path, not having to fight with traffic. But we do also understand that bicyclists have every right to the road as cars do, and so we also do things in the area of education and enforcement and engineering that make streets safer and more pleasant for bicyclists as well.
And your city just hosted the ProWalk, ProBike conference, bike and ped professionals and advocates from around the country. What does bringing 600 ped and bike people to the city do to help you out in your goals?
Oh, it was great. It was great to have them here in our community. I think there are probably some things that we can learn from communities all across the country. Maybe they can learn one or two things from us. It was just great to have them here, and see them walking around and biking around and enjoying our community. I hope that they go back home and have nice things to say about Madison.
And other than reaching the platinum level someday, how do you tell if you've been successful?
I don't know that it's a race you never finish. I mean, there's constant improvement. I've been in this community 27 years, and when I think back what it was like to be a bicyclist 27 years ago, things have improved so much. I had such limited access to paths in those days. The awareness of bicyclists' rights and the need for bicycle safety was so much lower than it is today. We're so much further ahead 3 decades later, but there's a lot more to do. There still are too many motorists who don't appreciate bicyclists and don't understand their equal right to the road. That's still an issue. We still need to build many more bicycle paths throughout our community. But we'll keep working at it. We'll keep plugging away at it. And, it's a race we never finish, but we just get better and better. I would love to see, as one measure of success, a higher percentage of folks who bicycle to work every day, bicycle commuters. Right now, Madison actually does very well. We're in a 6% range. We're one of the leading cities in the nation for that, even with our sometimes not so hospitable weather. We get that up to about 10%. That would be amazing. And so that would be a goal of mine.
We're in Madison, Wisconsin, talking with Robbie Weber, who's a project coordinator with the Bicycle Federation of Wisconsin. What is the Federation?
It's a statewide education and advocacy group for and about bicycling.
What are some of the issues you've been working on recently?
Well, I've been working on two major projects. One is the Bicycle Friendly Communities initiative, where I work with local advocates and staff in different communities to help them look at the issues in their particular area and try and make their community more bicycle friendly. We are trying to urge them to apply for the League of American Bicyclists Bicycle Friendly Community Award, and there's a fairly long application, but just reading the application helps them identify some of the areas that they need to be working on. Areas of engineering, education, encouragement, evaluation, enforcement, and planning. And sometimes just looking at the application has both the citizen advocates and the staff saying, oh, well, we haven't done that. Maybe we should think about doing that. Or, oh yeah, we do some of that, but we don't do that. So it's kind of a checklist for them. And then we also use it to organize people so that we can get the citizen advocates and the staff together so that they're not working at cross purposes, but they're trying to work together for a common goal. So that's one of the projects I'm working on. The other one is I've been working a lot with the health community and talking to them, and also talking to local planners and engineers about the importance of active communities, places where people can walk and bike, because the community is built in such a way that people can be active on a daily basis. They don't necessarily have to go out to a separate trail. They don't have to go to the gym to be active. It's just part of their life. That's how they get to work, school, recreation, shopping, and any place else they want to go. It's much easier to be active that way.
And do you find, is that a natural alliance between bicycle advocates and public health practitioners?
Oh, very much. And I think that more and more that you're seeing that pedestrian and bicycle advocates and health educators and people concerned with diabetes, stroke, heart disease are realizing that they really need to work together. Because it's one thing for you or I who want everybody to walk and bike and have bikeable, walkable places to say this is a good thing. And people will say, yes, those are those people who just want to walk and bike. But when you have a public health nurse or the director of a hospital or someone who works with cardiac rehab patients saying, this is really important for the health of our children and our neighbors and our friends, this is a public health issue, and we need to build places where people can be active on a regular basis. That has a different message, and you can get through to a different group of people.
Back to the first thing you're working on, bicycle-friendly communities. I noticed you didn't stop at bike lanes and bike trails, but bicycling friendly is more than just that?
Absolutely. It has to do with motorist education. It has to do with connected streets so that bicyclists don't have to be on the main arterial. They can maybe go through a residential, quiet street that is easier to bike on, but sometimes you don't have those small streets that go all the way through to destinations. It has to do with encouraging people to bicycle, teaching bicycle safety to children and adults and to motorists. It has to do with police officers knowing the law and enforcing them. And many times people think that has to do with making sure the bicyclists obey the law, but in many cases it's making sure the motorists obey the law so that bicyclists and pedestrians are safe.
We're in Madison, Wisconsin, talking with Lisa Bullard Cawthorn, who's a health educator. Who do you work for?
I work for Public Health Madison in Dane County.
And there's a new pool that opened up recently.
Yeah, we had our first city pool, and we decided to, well, my interest in all of this is to prevent chronic disease and try and encourage people to walk and bike within their neighborhood and across neighborhoods. So we had two parts to this project. One is that we wanted to reduce or eliminate the barriers that people had to walking and biking, so we used the pool as a destination point. So what we did is we had neighborhood residents from 5 neighborhoods do walking audits about a year ago, and they identified all the problems and the issues that they saw as they were walking and biking to where the pool was going to be. We took that information from the neighborhood residents and presented that to several city agencies that were the ones that are responsible for doing things about it. We then took those recommendations, got the various city agencies to identify who was responsible and to tell us what they were going to do. And we set a deadline that we had to have all this stuff done by the time the pool opened. And all the stuff got done. It was wonderful. We had sidewalks put in. We've had reduced lanes. We've had the speed limit reduced right in front of the pool. We've had all sorts of other changes. The bus stop moved so it was safer for people to get across the street after they got off the bus. That was one part of the project. The other part is that we still wanted to encourage people to walk within their own neighborhood. So we produced, we got the people that did the walking audits from the 5 neighborhoods to identify a 1 and a 2 mile walk within their neighborhood that we could be encouraging the residents in that neighborhood to walk. And then we got the neighborhood residents to actually identify the points of interest, things that they were proud of in their neighborhoods. And some of the neighborhoods that we were working with are neighborhoods where people don't often go. So we really wanted to encourage the self-pride, neighborhood pride. So what we did is we produced neighborhood brochures that actually, both in English and Spanish, encourage people to walk within the neighborhood. But it does show that we've got these walks within the neighborhood and the points of interest. So what we're hoping is that we encourage people to walk within the neighborhoods and to walk across the neighborhoods. We did a big launch, and what we did is we had all the people that in the neighborhoods that were involved in the walking audits and the city officials, the mayor, to actually start from 2 destination points that were going to cross a very busy street, Park Street, that we had done some changes to. And so we had this big walk. We converged on the bike path. We got the mayor to walk down a neighborhood that he often doesn't go, to see, the things that the neighborhood is proud of and to see some of the things that need to be done. So there were, the fact that it was a grassroots project, I think, made a huge difference. We got city agencies talking together. There was one example where there was a pedestrian bridge that needed to be redecked, and nobody knew whose responsibility it was until we got together and people started talking. So things got done. They got done by a deadline, and hopefully people will continue to walk within these neighborhoods. And I actually have a grant to do this again on the north side of town, where we think there's going to be a pool put in, and we'll use the pool and all the things that we can piggyback off of to be a point where we can encourage the same sort of thing to happen again.
The keys to this were what? Getting the local community to identify the problems,
getting them to identify, getting several community members, not just one neighborhood, but we had 5 neighborhoods. We had the planning council for that area involved, and we had all the city officials. That we had each of the department heads appointing somebody that would sit on this group where we would have meetings and discuss. They took the recommendations back to their department heads, back to the people that are responsible to get things done, to say, yes, we can do this, or no, we can, and this is what we can do instead. And also to get the neighborhoods to feel a sense of pride that, they live in a great neighborhood. There's things that they're proud of, to want people to come there. So I think the fact that we got the neighborhoods involved, not only to identify the problems, but also to get people to come to their neighborhood, I think that helped to mobilize them as well.
We're in Madison, Wisconsin, talking with Bridget Brown. What is the Pedestrian Observer?
The Pedestrian Observer is, it's currently a website, but it started out as an electronic bulletin, which I initially inflicted mostly on friends and acquaintances, trying to look at news from a pedestrian point of view and raise awareness about pedestrian issues. The dictionary definition of pedestrian, interestingly, is the first definition, at least in my Webster's 9th edition, is commonplace or unimaginative. And that needs a little correction, or the dictionary isn't kept up with our culture. Pedestrians aren't, unfortunately, all that commonplace anymore. There's been this shift, so if you want to be a pedestrian, it takes a lot of imagination sometimes to go about your daily business, and because what is commonplace is large parking lots and lots of car traffic, and which is not usually very compatible with walking. So I really did this when I became. I've never owned a car, and I haven't thought that much about it until several years ago when the crisis level just rose. I have a niece and nephew who have to spend a lot of time in a vehicle, whereas when I was at their age, I got to walk around a lot more freely, and this was bothering me. So I started looking at things from this pedestrian perspective to see what the obstacles were to being able to have this mobility as a person walking, and the Pedestrian Observer kind of came out of that, in addition to our political situation where we just put military forces in another part of the Middle East for reasons which there's some disagreement about, but we would not have much interest in that area if it weren't for the oil that's fueling our car-dominated culture. So.
We're in Raleigh, North Carolina, talking with Eric Lamb with the City Public Works Department. What sort of problems have you had along Hillsborough Street?
Well, John, Hillsborough Street runs adjacent to North Carolina State University, and it's obviously a very high pedestrian generator. Hillsborough Street itself is a major thoroughfare, runs along the north side of the campus, and you've got a high concentration of businesses and residences over there, so you have a lot of pedestrian exposure, and we've had a fairly high accident rate for pedestrians along the street over a multi-year period. And so starting in 1999, we had a community charrette to look at what type of solutions we could implement to try and improve the situation for pedestrians. And what came out of that charrette process was the idea of doing multiple roundabouts, both on Hillsborough Street and some of the surrounding streets. And what you see behind us here is the first of 10 roundabouts that were identified. We looked at this project almost as a proof of concept to show the public that we can put in a roundabout, we can do it in a cost-effective manner, we can facilitate pedestrians safely through the roundabouts, and generally it's been very well received by the public.
And we're on campus here, you got a lot of students. How does it work with the student population?
The students find it, as far as we know, very, very natural to walk through. I mean, what's nice about a roundabout is that you channelize the crossings so that you're only crossing one stream of traffic at a time, and you've got the refuge islands in the middle. And this roundabout, I think, is a model roundabout. It's very well designed, even though it's fairly compact. It's only got about a 90-foot diameter, so it's fairly small on the scale of roundabouts. But it has very high pedestrian exposure. Folks negotiate it very well. And since the time that we've had it open, since 2002, we've had no pedestrian accidents to report.
And Hillsborough currently is 4 lanes. What will you be able to do with its width when you put in the roundabouts?
I think that to be able to facilitate the roundabouts, we're going to have to reduce the laneage, what folks have commonly referred to as a road diet, where we're going to reduce the roadway from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction. We're also going to introduce on-street parking on one side of the street that currently does not have it. There is on-street parking on the north side of the street, so there'll be on-street parking on both sides. There will also be provisions for a small median to go down the middle of the street to prevent people from making turns at places other than at the roundabouts. So it's conceived that by putting in the roundabouts at these locations and better channeling the pedestrian crossings at certain locations, that it'll improve the pedestrian safety.
What concerns do people have about roundabouts? What sort of things you have to be careful of when you build one?
Constructability is a major issue. Unfortunately, here next to a major university, this project here was done during the summer months. and we ran slightly over on that. We were roundly cursed up and down during the construction process because of how difficult it was to maintain traffic through the roundabout. That's why Raleigh has over 24 roundabouts throughout the city now. Most of those have been done in conjunction with private developments. They've been done from scratch in new developments on new roads. But going in and retrofitting an intersection is a major consideration. It's a major cost issue for traffic control. Once the roundabout was open here, the public, it was very well received. We found that we had to do a fair amount of education with our bus drivers. There's both city transit and university operated transit that runs through this roundabout. And we found that we had to educate the bus drivers to be able to understand that the apron that was in the center of the roundabout was there for their use, for larger wheelbase vehicles to be able to drive over it. And at first they didn't understand that, and we're doing everything they could to avoid it, and of course running up along the curb on the outside. So the public's taken some education to it too. It's had quite a bit of press about it. Some of the local columnists have derided Hillsborough Street going around in circles, but I think the proof's in the pudding, and we'll see how it goes.
There's been concern in some quarters about how blind pedestrians will be able to navigate roundabouts without the usual audio clues that you get with a traffic signal, cars stopping and starting. What sort of research has been done on that? What are the concerns on that?
There's a lot of discussion ongoing about that now with the draft ADA guidelines being revised. There had been some discussion about that when the new ADA guidelines were put out. And I don't know there's been a good resolution to that issue on a nationwide basis. There's been some research done at this particular roundabout because we're adjacent to the North Carolina Governor's Moorhead School for the Blind. And so there actually is a blind pedestrian population in this area. One of the things that's been looked at as far as a means of remediating that is perhaps looking at pedestrian crossings that are signalized, that are offset from the roundabouts, so that you can have a dedicated pedestrian crosswalk that the blind can be able to use, and use in a more traditional sense that's not located at the roundabout itself. And one of the problems that roundabouts have is because the traffic continues to move on a steady basis, is that those auditory cues aren't there that a blind pedestrian would normally use. So they are a bit of a difficulty, and that's why the new draft ADA guidelines should be addressing those in short order.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.